Hey, hey, hey. How you guys doing? Are any of my friends there? I'm looking. I'm having to look on my phone because I'm not seeing a whole lot of people. But you know what? I don't care. I am super, super happy that you guys are here for Friday night girls' night. That makes my heart happy. Okay, so I'm not going to be stupid. I'm not going to do anything super silly. I am just going to share some stuff with you. So I did a post the other day. I'm here in my office, all just chilled out, and I got my Topo Chico with me. So if you have something to drink in it, and I know Topo Chico normally isn't this color, but I add some it's some of the Mio in it that gives it flavor because I don't like it without the flavor, but it's good stuff. But you guys, I did a post the other day asking women, what is it that you crave? What is it that you're looking for? What is it that you want? And it was interesting to me that they had a list of things that were all relational. I actually have the list here. I wrote it down because I thought, okay, I've got to share this. The biggest thing that you guys are looking for, and I know that I'm looking for, this is the truth. The only reason I'm doing a live, y'all, is because I'm looking for more connections. I really want to have relationships with people, and it's just really hard nowadays. And so I'm like, okay, let's be vulnerable, let's connect, let's talk, let's have a good time. And let's talk about some things that people really are saying is on their heart and mind. So, one of the things that y'all really brought out was unconditional love and full acceptance. Y'all, that's some heavy, deep stuff right there. But we're going to talk about it. How do you get to a place that you feel loved unconditionally and that you feel fully accepted? Because not everybody is going to fully accept us or fully love us. And if we're looking at it from a person, there's other steps that have to be plugged in and done for us to actually feel that way. And so I love the list. The list was there, that y'all are looking for authenticity, that you're looking for full acceptance, that you're looking for strength. I love that. Unconditional love, appreciation. Hey, if nobody's told you today, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate that you got up, that you went forward in your day, and that you did things today, even if it was barely making and putting one foot in front of the other. I appreciate that you're here. I appreciate you took the time for that. So my love, I'm just telling you, I appreciate you. Hope, encouragement, and validation. Y'all, validation's a big thing. There were years that I just did not feel like I was validated in what I was doing and the hard work that I had and all that stuff. So I get it. I really get it. So, hey, if you are here, go ahead and show some love. Say hi. I want to be able to say hi to everybody. I want to be able to, let me look here. I want to be able, oh, hey, Natasha, I see you, girl. Yvonne, hey. So type something up, show me that you're there, and let me say hi to you. What I want to do is I want to start Friday nights off with the first one. I really just want to share a little bit of me with you because I don't think that it's right or smart for me to ask you to come hang out with me and for me to bring you people to listen to and to talk to and to hang out with without you knowing anything about me. And I don't think it's right for me to ask you to try and connect with me if I'm not willing to be open and vulnerable with you. So that's what tonight's about. Tonight is about me being open and completely vulnerable with you. So, what we're going to do is, I am going to share a little bit of my story with you. I have a long story, so you're not going to get the whole story because that would not be a good, fun girls' night, and that would take too long. But I'm going to share a portion of it, a portion that has to do with, we're talking about relationship over religion. And that is a big portion of my story, is a relationship over religion. And so here's the main thing that I really just want to thread through this. A healthy relationship has an internal exchange, not simply an external expectation. So when you're talking about relationships over religion or healthy relationships, there's an internal exchange there, not just an external expectation. So if you're thinking about a relationship that you're in, that's one of the things you really have to take into consideration. If I'm asking to be in a relationship with you, I'm going to be willing to give an internal exchange, an emotional exchange, an open vulnerability because I crave that and I want that with you. I'm not just going to expect you to show up on my live and my feed and be there, or you don't just expect me to show up to entertain. That's not a real healthy relationship that's connective and that there's an exchange with. So, what I'm wanting to do is have a relationship exchange with you and not just do some religious little ceremony of expectation. Is that okay? Are we good with that? Okay. The one thing I realized is that I really want to grow relationships. And even in church, I want to grow relationships there. I don't necessarily want to grow my theology. I've had enough theology to take in. I don't mind expanding my wisdom in it, but I really want to cultivate and grow relationships in the church, and relationships with people and relationships with my God. So as I promised you guys before, I was going to share and am going to share a little bit of my testimony, a little bit of my story with you. And saying that, I am going to look at it from the viewpoint of relationship versus religion and how I came to a place of relationship with Christ and not just doing religious things. So, I actually did a little pre recording of that because I wasn't real sure if I was going to be able to get through it without a hot mess of tears. And I still may not, but I'm coming back on live. Okay. So, just stick with me. You'll be able to listen to this. And then, if you have a question about it, or if you have a comment about it, go ahead and comment it because I'm coming back in just about 4 minutes to talk to you about that and have a discussion with you about it. So, okay, so why is this topic of relationship over religion so near and dear to my heart? Well, that's a part of my major testimony. That is part of where I came from and what my transformation looked like. If any of you knew me back in the day, whoo, you knew that I was a little rough around the edges. I was your church girl. I grew up in church. I sang all the songs correctly. I served in all the right places. I had the right hair. I had the right clothes. I did everything that I was supposed to do, everything that I was expected to do, that I was raised to do, and that my parents instilled in me. And that's not a bad thing. It's just, that's my story. I lived up as best I could to other people's expectations of me. Um, but in that, as I became an adult, I realized that just because I had learned the rules and regulations and expectations of what I had grown up in with the church. And don't get me wrong, y'all, I had a great church. I had an amazing pastor, and his wife were great. They poured so much into us. So it wasn't anything to do with my pastor or the teachings or the fundamentals that I was taught. I actually had a wide variety of fundamental teachings. I went to a Baptist school, which gave me great biblical grounding, but it was very strict and had a whole lot of rules and regulations, especially for someone who's such a free spirit. And then, I grew up in an AG church who had a whole different set of rules and regulations that, was a little bit, had different expectations of what you should do and how you should be. So I had a wide variety of that, and they weren't bad, but I could not live up to the expectations that were set in front of me through what I was taught, through the theology and um, the religious facilities that I was in. I guess that's the best way to say it. And when I realized that what I said I believed was not what I truly believed, it crumbled everything. So let me explain that. I had a moment, an epiphany, to where I was just kind of living my life the way I wanted to live it and how I was living it. It was not intentional. It was me reacting to everything around me to try and make it. That's the truth. I was just trying to keep my head above water. I, was a young mom. I started at 18. I had 3 kids by the time I was 26. My husband was a little bit older than me, so thank God he was grounded and a little bit more mature. So he helped keep me grounded just a little bit. He tried his best. But I was a wild child, and I had honestly, I was a little spoiled too. And yes, all of you that know me and said I was spoiled, you were right. I was. I was a little spoiled. So I was expecting, I was used to getting what I wanted when I wanted it and how I wanted it. Now, that being said, that means I did what I wanted, when I wanted, anytime I wanted, to fulfill whatever gaping desire and need I had inside. Well, when you do that, that leads to a whole lot of sin and a whole lot of hurt and pain for those you're in relationship with, which I caused a lot of. My husband dealt with a lot of things that he shouldn't have had to have dealt with, but he did. Now, all of the things that I did, I never really computed that they went against the moral guidelines that I stated I believed in. So, in other words, my moral compass did not line up with what I stated my moral beliefs were, because I was just living out what I wanted to when I wanted to make it. I was trying to keep my head above water and feel something because I had had a hardened heart. I had grown up in church, had had so much religion, had had so much theology thrown at me, had had so much rules, regulations, do's, don't, this is how we do it, that my heart was hardened and I was trying to feel something. So, in that, once I had gotten to the point that I pretty much destroyed everything around me through the actions that I had had an affair. And in that, I almost destroyed my family and almost destroyed my marriage for sure. I realized, okay, I am not saying and doing what I am saying I believe. In other words, I'm not putting up or shutting up. I am walk or talking a good talk, but I'm surely not walking that walk. Okay, so I just want to interject here. um, there's a few things I didn't say that I really feel like are important because I jumped through all the way to being an adult and having an affair and everything crumbling before me. But what got me to the point that I did have an affair, it wasn't just because I was spoiled and I wanted to do what I wanted to do. That is a portion. I'm not going to say it wasn't, but there were things that started out at a very young age. I experienced some sexual abuse at an age that was younger than I can remember. Okay, so that being said, that means I wasn't even in school at the point. But I remember exactly where it happened, with whom, and how it happened. And that right there started to mold my identity through my sexuality and my acceptance through my sexuality by some of the things that were said during that time. And so it was a link that started the molding of how I would start to project my life forward. And then shortly after that, I experienced a whole lot of rejection. And I don't think it was intentional. I don't think, people just shunned me to shun me. There was a rejection dynamic in my family makeup. There was a rejection dynamic at school. For some reason or another, I felt very rejected by females at school. And I'm probably sure there were reasons for that, either in their own personal lives or even through other ways. There was rejection, going to a private school. There was a rejection because I was an AG girl going to Baptist school. And, there was a lot of things with that. There was also roots of rejection in my relationships. I mean, let me share something with you. I can remember one time in high school, was in cosmetology, doing the hair and the makeup. And I wanted to do hair because I wanted to do cosmetology because I wanted to do makeup because I loved it. And I thought that would get me there. And I remember a girl, and I really have no idea why she didn't like me, but she just did not like me. And she was giving me hell, literally. I would say the week of that week. And if you don't realize it, if you do cosmetology in high school, you are in that class for 3 hours a day. It's 3 classes worth. So I was in there for 3 hours and she was just making ugly comments. And I was not as confrontational as I am now. I actually was really laid back. I didn't confront things, I wasn't a fighter. I was very much internal at that point. And I remember sitting in that class under in a dryer seat, thinking to myself, there were only two girls in that class that were even semi nice to me. And so thank you, Monica, for that. Monica Gallegos was in my class and she was very sweet to me. But I remember sitting there with my head down, thinking and praying, probably the only time I prayed as a teenager. Lord, if she says one more word to me, I'm going to beat her. Like I'm going to lose my junk. I'm going to kill her. Lord, don't let her say anything. Lord, don't let anything come out of her mouth. Lord, I've had enough. I can't do it, Lord. And she had said something every single day that entire week. And that was the only day she didn't say anything. And so I remember it was such a moment that when I called upon him in some weird, type of way, he showed up for me and he shielded me from me about to lose it. But the level of rejection was to the point I quit cosmetology, y'all. I didn't go back because of that. So that kind of rejection moved it forward. And then even in rejection of relationships, I was in a long-term relationship in high school. So for long-term, we're talking about over a year, right? In high school. And I really thought I was going to marry this man. He is the father of my firstborn. And, when I ended up pregnant, he ended up gone. And so a level of rejection there, I was looking for security, I was looking for acceptance, and it was all wrapped through my sexuality because that's what I had been shown early on. And so as I moved forward and I ended up trying to make relationships, even the relationship with my husband, I used my sexuality, and I still didn't feel accepted. He married me for goodness sakes. He put up with me for goodness sakes. He loved me unconditionally, but I still felt rejection. And so I was trying to do the right things because of what I had been taught to do, but I was still seeking full acceptance, still seeking to be unconditionally loved and authentically accepted when around every corner there was rejection. So once I realized that I was not walking the walk, I had to go and do some work. In this, I realized that some things have to change. And I asked myself one day, I really got honest with me. And that's a big thing we don't really think about is that are we honest with ourselves? I could lie to myself very easily, y'all. I was a great liar and a great manipulator. I could lie to my husband's face and make him think it was the truth. And he would have this little gut inkling that it wasn't, but I could easily lie to you and tell you what I perceived and wanted the truth to be, and it be the truth. So for me, first and foremost, I had to be honest with myself. And that came down to really authentically looking at me and going, oh my God, I am actually doing this and this and this. And is that really who I want to be? Is that really how I want my children to see me or perceive me? Like, if my kids found out about this, how would they perceive and what would they think? Is that the legacy I want to leave? And so I really sat down and I thought one day, after my entire life was a shamble and everything was broken and on the floor, I thought, if I died today, what would my eulogy read? What do I want people to think or know about me? And at that point, if I were to write out what they did know about me or what they were saying about me, it would not have been a pretty eulogy, y'all. They would have tried to have been nice, but they would not have been able to be honest. That's the truth. And so I really had to go, okay, Dorothy, what do you want your future to be? Who do you want to be? Not who did the church say you needed to be? Who did your mama raise you to be? And she did a great job raising me. So I'm not throwing any stones there. Not who society said you're supposed to be, because, society told me I was too much for anybody and everybody, and you're a little too glam and you're a little too loud and you talk too much. So not who everybody is putting me in the box to be, but who do I want to be? And what kind of woman do I want to be? And that is when I really started saying, you know what? I want to be a godly woman, but I don't know what a godly woman looks like. And that's the truth. I had witnessed and met what I considered godly women, but how do I get from where I'm sitting as an adulterer, as a brash, harsh, not so nice young woman to a godly woman and not a church woman? And I say that not being mean, because I am a church woman, just so you know. I go to church and I have a grounding and a founding there, but not like, you see on Saturday Night Live, the church lady, because with the right hair and the right suit and in this box of expectation of what I am supposed to be and look like as a churchgoer. That didn't fit for me. As an Enneagram 8, I don't do well being controlled by others. And I don't like to be told what I can and can't do. That's the truth. And so I had to decide who and what I wanted to be and how I wanted that to play out. And I had to really ask the Lord to show me. So that is where I realized I was looking for a relationship with God that I didn't have. I had had encounters with Him as a young girl, but I had not cultivated a relationship. And I had been told about relationships with God. My pastors, when I was a teenager and younger, had spoken about it, but it just didn't sink in or take in that way. And so now that I was craving a relationship, I thought, okay, let's try this again. And God had such great timing. He moved me into the church that I'm in now and gave me a great pastor and mentor that helped kind of walk through what relationship with God looked like and what becoming a whole person in Christ looked like. And so through that, I began to understand that relationship trumps religion all day long. Okay. So I've got to put a little note in on that. In the very beginning, I said I lied a lot, and I did, y'all. And I want to share this with people. Maybe you're dealing with a teenager that lies or a family member that lies, and maybe they don't lie over bad things. Maybe they lie over stupid stuff. They embellish the truth and make things bigger and better than they are. And they always have to add something to it. And it's like, they're lying and you don't want to call them out on it, but like, we know they're lying. And I'm pretty sure that so many people knew I was lying, but I got so good at it. But why did I lie? Why did I do that? Well, because I never felt enough. I never felt that what I did, just being who I was, just being me, was enough. So I had to add it to make it sound better, to make it be better, to make it look better, to make it be enough. So if I wasn't lying about what I needed or wanted it to be, or to look like, or to have the image that it needed to be, or to save face for the image I wanted to keep, then I wasn't enough. I wasn't enough in the mess that I was, because I was lacking and I felt defeated. I didn't feel like, I felt rejected by everybody. And if you saw the truth of me, you would reject me because everybody else had. That was where I was at. So I say that because if you're dealing with someone who is a habitual liar, it's because they don't feel like what they have is enough, that they can just be enough. When I started looking into the relationship with God, and I say it that way because I had looked and looked for relationships through every other avenue. I had tried relationships with people, men, friends, relationships with food, relationships through, I was trying to find acceptance through so many different avenues. And so finally, when everything came to a crashing halt, I realized it wasn't a relationship necessarily, but it was intimacy that I was looking for. And so I was looking for an intimacy. And I remember I remember, and this is why it's important, not to discount being raised in the church or parents not giving their children the availability to have that church experience. Because I remember as a little girl, and I remember as a teenager having an intimate encounter with the Lord and what that felt like and what that looked like. And, even though I didn't stick in with that, it stuck with me. And so I remember telling God, okay, I've tried everything else. I'm gonna give you a shot, and I want that encounter that I had way back when when I was a kid, laid on the church pews, laughing uncontrollably and not knowing why. I want that. The encounter I had at church camp as a youth, I want that. And I don't know how to get there. And so that's where I said, I had tried everything else religion, I had tried everything else relationship, but I was craving that intimacy because I had had a false intimacy with other people and other things. That's where I started going, okay, let's try this because right now, what do I have to lose? I was about to lose my family. I was about to lose my marriage. I was about to lose my ever loving mind. As a matter of fact, I think I had lost it already a couple of times. And I was trying to regain it, but I was like, this is the last ditch effort, and I'm all in. And I had to make the choice that, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot, and I'm going to do what's required, and I want this. That a relationship with God, a healthy relationship with God, a whole relationship with God will take religion and squash it. And that's the truth. Now, it's not that we won't go to church and have fellowship and we won't have faith and grow our faith, but religion has a lot to do with theology, which there's a lot of different theologies out there. So I'm not going to debate theology with you. I'm going to talk about and state what my grounding is and what my belief is. And I had to question every bit of it. I questioned, what do I believe? Do I really even believe in the Bible? Do I really even believe in Christianity? What does this doctrine say? And how do I feel about that? Where am I going to start to bounce everything off of? In other words, I have to have a center focus on my compass. And what am I going to compass my life around? What is that center focus going to be? And for me, it's the Bible, it's the word. And to me, that's where my faith and my grounding comes from. So if I don't know what I think about something, or if I don't know how to navigate something, I am going to go to the word and I'm going to say, okay, what do you say about this? What does the word say? And how does that navigate me in this relationship with God? How does that help me move closer into the relationship with God and have communication with Him? So at that point, when I decided, okay, I'm really not seeking church, I had church up to here. I was born in church. I was raised in church. I went to school in church. When I was seeking a relationship, I had to learn and press into first my relationship with God. And that right there was a saving grace for me. How do you cultivate a healthy relationship with God? I didn't know how. So I went back to the beginning and I was like, okay, Adam and Eve had a great relationship with God till the enemy came in. So what did that look like? What did Eve have? So I did a study on Eve to kind of learn what a great relationship with God looked like. But in any relationship, it has to grow and it has to be healthy. And so I had to start growing a healthy relationship with the Lord. So, what does that mean? Hmm? Healthy relationships really are connective relationships. They're relationships that you're vulnerable with each other. Their relationships are that you build trust with each other, that there's communication with each other. I mean, think about it. You're not going to be in a relationship with someone that you don't communicate with. You're not going to be in a relationship with someone you don't trust. You're even not going to be in a relationship with someone that you don't believe is committed to you. I mean, if you're not feeling safe emotionally in a relationship, it's not a healthy relationship. So, how do I grow all of these things into a healthy relationship with God? And not a church building and not a religious system. Because for me, I believe that religion is a great supplement to build faith. But I don't, and I believe that going to church is a great way to make connections with other like-minded people, but I don't believe that that is solely going to build your relationship with God. It's not going to completely nurture it, it's not going to grow it. You're going to have to do that. You're going to have to want that, you're going to have to engage in that, you're going to have to be intentional with that, just like you are with any other relationship with it that you're in. You're going to have all of that in there. So I started pursuing a relationship with God in the same way I would pursue a relationship with a person. Now, that being said, I didn't necessarily have healthy relationships with people. At that point in time, not many people liked me. And I don't know that I liked many people either. But that was also because I didn't have a healthy relationship with God or myself. So after I started my journey of pursuing a relationship with God, talking to Him, and communication with God is prayer, y'all. That's what they call prayer. Just talk to Him, just have a communication. But it's not just one sided. I had to wait and hear from Him and let Him communicate to me also. So it was a dual interactive relationship. And that is key when you're starting to build a healthy relationship with God. It's interactive. It's two way. It's not just me asking for this and this and this and help and do. It's Him saying, "Hey, I'm here. And this is what I want to talk to you about. And this is what I see for you. And this is what I want to do in and with you. This is what I want to partner with you in." So here's the funny thing. Um, I'm not telling you not to go to church. I am not telling you that the church body and that, going in and being involved in church will not help your relationship grow with God. What I'm telling you is you can't depend on going to church to start your relationship, because if you're not open and you're not connective and you're not willing and ready to be vulnerable with God, and you're not willing to lay it all out and let Him get inside and let Him get in the nitty gritty and have conversations about hard things and express your feelings and emotions about things, if you're not ready to talk to Him about that, then the church isn't going to do you any good. The church can build a great environment and prime to make it easier for you to have those conversations and encounters. They can bring you tools. Oh my goodness. As I said, I got into the church where I'm at now, and my pastor gave me great tools to be able to cultivate an intimate relationship with God. So I'm not saying that it's not a portion of it, but what I'm saying is you've got to be able to divide what is a church religious setting and what is a God setting. What expectations do you have between you and God in that relationship versus what expectations you have that church will provide to you? It's okay to question your religious foundation that you were taught with. That's what builds your faith. It's okay for you to choose to believe differently than what you were raised in. But you have to have a conversation with God to say, what are you saying about this? Remember, guys, healthy relationships have an internal exchange, not just an external expectation. So if you're going to church and you're not having an internal exchange with God through the Holy Spirit and only having external expectations of doing, then that's not a healthy relationship with God. So I wrote down a few things that I wanted to share with you that really kind of divides what is a relationship with God versus what is a religious act or expectation. So God will come alongside you and say, "I want to do blank with you." Religion says, "I want you to do blank because of this." God wants to do and join with you in it, and religion says, "I want you to do it for." God says, "I love you even though," and you can fill in the even though you, or even though this. And religion will tell you, "I love you if." I love you if you abide by these rules, laws, regulations, or don't make us look bad. You know, um, God says, "I'm waiting. I'm waiting for you to choose me because I've already chosen you." Religion says, hurry up, get yourself together, cleaned up. We're not waiting. Hell's waiting. God says, your lack is enough. Religion says, oh no, you need to be doon to be enough. That's the difference. God says, I love you. There's no anything other than a period behind that. I love you. Religion will tell you you need to do A, B, C, and D to be loved by people and by this church and by others to look right. God will tell you, if you will let me, I will. In other words, he's saying, I'm here waiting on you to do and allow me to come in. So if you'll let me, I will heal you. I will restore you. I will change things in you. And religion says, if you will, then we will. And that is not how God works. God says, just be with me. And religion says, hey, you got to hustle if you want God. You got to work the spirit. You got to get your emotions all popped up and hanged up and all that jazz. And the Lord just says, just be. I'm waiting for you. So there's some dividing things that, if you're dealing with and having church issues, that you can just say, this is God's place in it. This is not religion. And church and religion are two different things. And that's a whole different study. But God is sitting there saying, I want a relationship with you. I want to join with you. And yes, you can go to church and they can give you great tools. But what it comes down to is you've got to be open and ready and willing to pursue Him in and through all things. And, sometimes it's just being together and adoring each other, having worship time and having a time that I get to adore him and talk to him and having a time that he adores me and floods love over me. So it's interactive. So once I started doing that, I then had to learn how to have a healthy relationship with me. Oh man, that was hard. That was hard. I had a lot of internal dialogue that was very unhealthy. Maybe that was abusive. I would say things to myself that I would never consider saying to one of my children or to someone else. Um, I would also, maybe not fully accept who I was because I had been told that good girls or girls that are godly look like this, act like this, and speak like this. And I didn't have the want to or desire to look like that, act like that, or speak like that. So to me, that felt like rebellion. And that was even labeled, by certain church settings and certain religious institutions as rebellion. But the authenticity of who God created me to be started coming to the forefront when I started spending time with him and getting to know him and beginning a intimate, close, connective relationship with him. That's actually when the pink started showing up. When I started allowing God to tell me who he made me to be, the brightness started coming back. The joy started setting in. The fullness of the glamour started showing up because that is the beautiful thing that he placed in me, that he delights in, and that I delight in, and that I receive joy from. So, all of those things I unapologetically allow to sit in the forefront of who I am because he created me that way. And that's okay. It's different. It may not be your cup of tea, and that's okay. He created you with your cup of tea. So he taught me to have a healthy relationship and mindset about me and who he authentically created me to be. And it was okay for me to be me. Now, did I need to grow me and mature me and develop me and grow into the woman I wanted to become? Absolutely. Did I need to change things? Absolutely. But guess what? Between him and I, we together got to choose what I needed to change, how I needed to change it, and what that looked like. Did it always line up with what I was taught growing up in church institutions? No, not always. But am I okay with that? I am. Because as long as it lines up with his word, and as long as it lines up with the relationship that I have cultivated with him and he approves it, it's all that matters for me. That is my navigational beacon, his word and his voice of approval. That's what I'm looking for. And everybody else, they're just icing on the cake. So then after that, I really was able to start being vulnerable, openly vulnerable and authentic with people like you, and with people that I go to church with, and with people in my family, and with those around me, to build deep friendships, because I had been able to heal from past relationships that I had had maybe in the church that were painful and hurt and I was flawed, and I needed a relationship restoration with Christ. And I couldn't have a relationship restoration with other people until I had a relationship restoration with him and a relationship restoration with me. So once I had healed enough to do that, I was able to have a relationship restoration with all those around me, to be openly vulnerable with you guys, to openly share what I've been through and what I've learned from it with you guys, in hopes that it encourages you that you can do it too. I mean, I don't know if you can get any lower than I was whenever I started this journey, but he showed up at the right time with the right people, with the right messages to help draw me into him relationally, not just religiously. So that's what this whole series is about. That's a little bit of my background. That's a little bit of where I come from. But this whole series that we're going to be talking about is building a healthy relationship with God, yourself, and others. So I really Okay, so look, y'all, my hair is a hot mess because my little computer just said it had 3% left, and I had to run to go get my charger. So, yeah, real hot mess. Anyway, so why do we need a relationship with God first? I'm going to tell you, I tried everything else. I'm not lying when I tell you I tried everything else to fill that void, to bring that intimacy, to have some kind of happiness and wholeness. So this honestly was my last ditch effort. I'm not going to just sugarcoat it. And so it's like, if this doesn't work, I'm just SOL, my marriage is over, we're done. But it worked. So that is why I'm saying we have to start with God first. And then we have to start with ourselves. How do you change the way you view yourself? How do you have a healthy relationship with yourself? That happens when you start building your relationship with God. Because when you start building an intimate relationship with God and having conversations with Him and going to Him with the hard things, He starts to show you who He is. And when He shows you who He is, it reflects who you are, because you are made in His image. Let me say that again. When you get to know Him and He starts to show you who He is, it reflects and shows you who you are, because you are made in His image. And that is how you get to know the authentic you that you want to grow into and be. You have to declutter everything that you were raised with. You have to declutter everything and unlearn things that were unhealthy, that maybe you grew up in through your family and through, just living life, and then choose to embrace who He has called you to be and who He is showing you He is. Because if He is showing you He is that way, you have a portion of that in you that you can grow and embrace and bring to the forefront. So I am very, very, very excited about these Friday night girls' nights. I am excited to bring you some really awesome friends that are going to help us grow healthy relationships with God, with ourselves, because I'm going to tell you, growing a healthy relationship with yourself is the hardest portion. Once you get the healthy relationship with yourself, and the healthy relationship with God down, other people, you just like work through the relationships with other people through that, because you understand that you can love the way that you are loving yourself. And so it's so, if you do it in the opposite direction, if you try to have relationships with other people without having a healthy relationship with yourself or a relationship with God, all you're going to do is mess it up. I'm just saying, because you'll be repeating old patterns. You'll be loving the only way you knew how to love, and have, instead of having your love redeemed and restored into its rightful place and wholeness through Christ. And so you've really got to be intentional. And let me just be real. If you don't believe me, give it a try. What do you got to lose? If you are in such a desperate place, or if you are sick and tired of all of the messy drama in your life, how can this harm it? What hurt can it do? It can't hurt. And I will tell you, there's tools out there to help it. There's books that help you do and grow your relationship with God. There is counseling that is wrapped solely around just you building your relationship with God and finding freedom in Christ, and freedom in being you, and freedom in what you've been through and what you can grow into. So there's so many tools out there for that, and we're going to bring those to the table. But I am super excited about the next couple of Friday nights. I'm telling you guys are going to absolutely love next Friday night. I have a good friend with me. Her name is Jacqueline Rivers, and she is going to be with me next Friday night. And I'm telling you, when I get with her, it's a hot mess. We have so much fun. And she is a sister to me in Christ. I love her. We both have the same mentor. Dr. Cindy Trim is our spiritual mama and our mentor. And if you don't know who Dr. Trim is, I'm going to need y'all to get on and find out who Dr. Trim is. She is amazing. But we both, Dr. Trim is both our spiritual mamas and is a mentor to us. And so Jacqueline is going to be with me next week. If you want to check her out, you can go to her page, Jacqueline Rivers. She is also on the Life Network for Women. There's a page on here that you can check that out, Life Network for Women. She's got her own little station there, I guess it would be, video station there. And you can check out some of hers. I was on her show probably 3 weeks ago, and we just had a good old time. But I'm telling you, we've already recorded the episode for next Friday. I probably shouldn't say that, but we did. And it's going to be fire, y'all. It's so good. We're going to talk about relationships with other people, how to have healthy relationships. And she really talks about, I was so enamored because Jacqueline isn't only just, a preacher and a pastor, but she's a psychotherapist. So she gets all up in your brain and tells you how it triggers things and how it does things. And I'm telling you, she starts talking about having a dissociative connection disorder with God. And I was like, oh, that's a thing. I mean, I've heard of a dissociative disconnection disorder. I'm not even sure I'm saying it right, but I've heard of that, in mental health. But to have that with God, what does that look like? I was like, oh, that's so interesting. And so you guys check it out. Go like stalk her Facebook page, and make sure you join me here next Friday night, same time, 8:00, and I will see you then. I love you guys. Leave lots of comments. Let me know what you're looking for. If there's something that you specifically want to see or you want to hear about, let me know. We're going to be here. And I just thank you for joining me. Bye.